السلام عليكم. كنا نتمنى أنه نكون معاكم في هذه اللحظات، ولكن هذا ما قدر. نحن الآن في جامعة بروكسل. كثير سعيد أني أرحب بالدكتور فيليب فان إمبي، هو مؤسس المركز الأوروبي لابتكار البيانات في بروكسل. سوف يتحدث اليوم عن بناء مجتمع قوي لعلوم البيانات وكيف يكون هو العمود الفقري للتطور الاقتصادي. فأنا برحب بالدكتور فيليب وأترك الكلمة له.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Abdelghani, for the invitation. I'm very proud to be here in Gaza, at least virtually. I'm very sorry I couldn't be there in person. That would have been one of my dreams that would have come true, but it's, it could be done in a later stage. Today I'm going to present you a topic on building a community of practices. Community of practice is something that is quite important if you want to gather information and share that information with colleagues and learn from each other when there is no really a script book, like a mathematical script book, available. And my presentation will take 5 different steps. First, I will tell you how it all started, and then I will go over the theory, and I must admit that I only discovered the theory after the fact, but we will go through the theory. We will talk about the data science community that we set up in the past 3 years. We will tell you how and what and why we did it, and I will summarize it with some takeaways for you. We will probably have some time for question and answers at the end of the presentation. And there will be a link for you to ask these questions as well. And I'll be happy to answer all these questions. So here we are. My name is Philippe Van Impe. I'm really in charge of a community of data scientists. These are people working in artificial intelligence. And over the 3 years, we've built up 3 to 4 different activities. One is a hub where people come together and work together. The second one is an academy where people can share their knowledge and learn from each other. The third is a hackathon method where people come and work on a common theme. And the fourth is an event, which is a summit. It's a yearly summit. We'll go to that in more details during the presentations. So how did it all start? Well, basically, it started 3 years ago, a bit more than 3 years ago, when a friend of mine, Pierre, came back from the US. And we've been talking for, I'm over 50, so we've been talking about the different ways of technology we've known over the past 20 years. And we were talking about what would be the next wave that would really revolutionize the way of doing business. And he came back from Silicon Valley with the message that I really had to take a deep look at Hadoop, MapR, and something called data science. At that time, there wasn't much information available. The only information that was available is that to be a data scientist would be the most sexiest job in the 21st century, which was quite interesting. So that's how it all started, building this. It was for us quite difficult to find information on what data science was all about. And certainly when we did find some information, we couldn't really translate it easily in business value and things like that. So that was another problem. And certainly there weren't that many projects next to the existing business intelligence projects that were already done with some commercial software. There wasn't really a lot of projects going on with data science in Europe. So we were challenged to be able to understand what it was all about, and we decided to bring people together, bring an ecosystem together of both academic scholars and also some business, some big companies and small companies and startups and students, and to bring all these people together in order to define together what this community of practice could be, what data science was. So we had the best brains of Belgium available. We had amazing energy there, and we had some means like some space at the University of Brussels and so on to be able to meet each other, and that's how we started our community of practice. Now let's go in more details in what the community of practice is all about. It is mainly a networking of individuals who want to solve some common problems, a bit like we did, try to understand what it was, explore ways of working. How does it really work? How can we make business out of it? Will we ever get rich if we are data scientists? How do we group each other? How can we share our knowledge? Also to identify common solutions and share the ideas and build up a library of best practices. So the community of practice is mainly a grouping of like-minded people who have the same interest mainly and want to understand and want to share that knowledge and certainly learn from each other. We're very lucky that we are in the data science field with mathematical people and statistic people who are basically very open-minded and happy to share their knowledge. So there was no really big problem to share that the information. And certainly everybody was very happy to collaborate and to learn from each other and to achieve a common outcome. This had a huge impact because it accelerated the learning of a lot of people in our community and allowed us to validate the existing knowledge and best practice. The government also saw that it was quite interesting and they supported us because they believed that was a way to innovate and to create new ideas. Also did some major companies like Procter & Gamble and AXA and other banks supported the idea because we were able to innovate in that environment. So what does it make successful? And this is a funny slide because I only discovered this slide afterwards. But every point that's in there is valid. I can tell you. So we first did it without the theory, and then we discovered the theory afterwards. But we did have a clear purpose, and that's quite important. You have to find like-minded people, and that's something that you can only do when you have a very clear purpose. People have to know that when they share their knowledge, it will be used for a common purpose. So there must be a safe and trusted environment in action there. You also need a committed group, nearly full-time people working with that community of best practice. Otherwise, it can tend to die. There is an enthusiasm in the beginning, and then it dies afterwards. So you really have to have a core team available. And motivate the team, of course. Some research had to be done, and knowing that the real needs of the participants is key here. And having a clear action plan with the activities that needs to be met is also a very important thing. Now, doing all this, you could do it virtually, but you don't want to do that virtually. You want to have a lot of peer-to-peer contacts. You want to have face-to-face contacts. You want to have people working together. So you have in your events and in your activities include a lot of workshops and some coaching sessions as well to make it work. If you do this all this, then you will have a successful community of practice, and you can do that if you have a good facilitation. Now, this slide is quite interesting because it shows what facilitation is all about. Yeah, you need a team, critical mass of people. You need some common needs, everything that has already been mentioned. You also need, because you're working with a lot of volunteers, you really need to have a transparent way of doing things, and so that people understand who's the boss and what direction you are going. It's also about focusing on sharing and not gaining the credits. You have to share. When somebody gives a presentation, you really have to put him in the spotlight and congratulate all the people who are sharing. It has to be open to innovation. That's a very important, the only point that I don't like about the slide is that point of renewal of leadership. I think I will stay forever as a community leader. No, but the renewal of leadership is quite important, and certainly renewal of the teams that are working. And you can have many different teams active, doing or going after the same objective. And these teams, you have to give them the chance to rest a while. So renewing these teams are also very important. Yeah. So let me tell you now in the coming 20 minutes how we really did that and how we did build a community of practice around data science in Brussels. I don't know if you recognize the building at the back. It's one of the famous buildings in Brussels. It represents a steel atom being built for the in 1958 for the world gathering that took place here, and it represents a bit the building. I really like the idea of building here. So how did we do it? Well, if you want to have a community of practice, it's important to have a supporting tool, and I will really advise you to use a tool called Meetup. Meetup is a tool where you can define what your interests are, and that Meetup will then point you to activities where that kind of information is shared with others. In our case, it was data science, so we could then see people we did not know who were also on that platform that could know that there was an activity taking place about data science at a specific location. Of course, you need to have a clear objective, and the clear objective is when you best is just to phrase it what you are doing. We were the data science community. We worked on a logo. We had a mission, and our mission was about education, inspiration, and empowering students, professors, and also professionals to apply data science to address, important elements of the humanity. So to address the humanity's grand challenges. That's our mission, and our mission was supported by different pillars. And our first pillar was it had to be open. Everybody's welcome. It had to be hands-on, enough theory. Let's do it. Let's really get our hands dirty. It was about sharing. Sharing was a key element, and the learning aspect of it. So if somebody was sharing, others were learning, and then they could then reciprocate that by sharing what they knew, and others would learn. When we were doing projects, when we are doing projects, we try to tackle data for good projects, and we will talk about it in a minute, of different data for good projects we have been doing. We didn't want to be the slaves of a commercial organization, certainly not the commercial IT organization like the big Oracles or SAPs or things like that. We didn't want to be their slaves, so we decided to be a non-commercial organization. And we also wanted to be multi-helix. With multi-helix, I just mean it's the ecosystem composed of different elements of the society, like the academic people, like the students, like the government, the bigger companies and the smaller companies and the startups. You really need to have all these elements into one into your company, into your community. Sorry, if you wanted to be successful. So data science, just a few words. Here is a typical data scientist. Basically, what he does is he collects data and works on it, and then find insights in order to predict the future. That's what a data scientist is. It's defined here. Basically, is a person who is better at statistics than any other programmer, and is better at programming than any other statistician. That's what a definition by Josh Wills. Just remember that these people are mainly very good at maths and statistics, but they are very good at hands-on programming as well. Yeah. Now, if there are some data scientists in the room, you will recognize yourself, because the daily task of a data scientist will be about getting data, working on that data, processing it, cleaning it, adding some additional data sources to an existing data set, do some analysis, and then starting interpret the results and presenting the results. Now, what you see more and more is that the data scientist is used in the prediction work and for building recommendation engines and so on. That's the kind of people we have in our community. If you look at it from another way, for the people who already heard about data science, you will see that these people are busy cleaning up messy data, test hypothesis, argue R versus Python things, steal from the D3 gallery and things like that. So I thought it was a nice slide just to add, so that you know that these people are really technical people working on that data. So what do we want to do as a community? Basically, we want to promote the value of analytics and organize events, hands-on sessions and trainings in order to close that gap between what you learn at university and what can be used for business purposes. Yeah? So basically, we want to promote the results that can be achieved by applying data science techniques. And we also want to scale up the use of data science in Belgium by promoting open data projects, facilitating hands-on exercises on real data to solve real issues, and then facilitate the team building for the new economy, and provide a training path for both managers and scientists. That last part is quite important. If you want to train, if you want to promote a certain technology, you have to do it on both sides, not only on the side of the technicians, but also on the side of the people who are going to use that technology. So you will see in the next slides that we also focused a lot of and prepared trainings for managers so that they could understand how this technology could be used. So we do believe that we can solve a lot of ambitious problems with data science. We believe that a part of the unemployment problems we have can be solved with data science, that health issues can be solved. Yeah? We also know that there is a shortage of data science professionals, and in our approach you will see that we have added a lot of trainings in order to improve that number of data scientists. We also know that on the business side, a lot of decisions makers don't really understand the power of data. So there is a huge amount of education to be done within the companies for the management, the middle management, and the higher management of the companies, so that they understand what digitalization is all about and how to become data-driven. And then open data, and that's quite important, is really that mine of knowledge that can be exploited. There's more and more open data available today, and it's really important to know that how you can use it and to participate to different exercises on using that open data source. So what do we do? That now is the easy part. So what do we do? Well, basically, we opened an office space of 400 square meters in the center of Brussels, where we could host trainings and also host startups that were, that needed a location where at the coffee machine they could talk about data. Yeah, and we call that environment the Data Innovation Hub. Of course, it was supported by the political leaders in Brussels and on the federal government as well. It was supported but not financed, so we're still waiting for the financing about it, but they thought it was a very good initiative. Another thing that we did is we organized a boot camp, a data science boot camp, that basically started in August and ended in December. It started with a 5 weeks programming. I told you for data scientists it's quite important to be able to code, so we want to be sure that the people participating to the bootcamp were good coders. So they did a 5 weeks programming course with some certification for each track, and then the 20 best, because we had a leaderboard. We put up the leaderboard, and I really suggest you do that because it really motivates the people doing all these exercises and these certification. You put up a leaderboard, and suddenly everybody, the competitive spirit comes out of all these youngsters, and at the end you take the 20 best to put through your data science bootcamp. Now, the data science bootcamp that we put in place was basically inspired also by the bigger companies who needed those data scientists. We had a lot of preparation workshops with them to understand what their real needs were all about. And initially, our training manager and myself, we believed that we would train people coming from university towards a career in data science. But the bigger companies told us that they weren't hiring that much youngsters anymore. And that they had a huge stock of experienced people in-house that had to be retrained. So we adapted our training program in order to also to do some transformation of their existing staff. And we kept a nice balance, 50-50, like 50% youngsters and 50% people with experience to go through that bootcamp. Also, what the bigger companies ask us to do was not to do a full-time program, but 2 days a week program, which we did. So in the end, we did a 12-week program, 2 days a week, based on 15 different business cases that they had to work on. It was important when we did that we covered all the areas of a data scientist. I won't get into details of all the elements, but you have to understand that a data scientist today, with all these skills here, is hardly impossible to find. So I really believe that doing a data science project is a team effort, and you will find people with more project management expertise, and you will have people with more leadership expertise, and then you will find people with who are excellent in communication, because you have, in a way of storytelling, you have to come up with the results. It was quite important. But also you need people with business expertise that can solve problems and with a lot of domain knowledge to understand what the data is all about. And then, of course, on the higher, on the left corner, higher left corner and higher right corner of the slide, you see that, of course, there is a lot of computer science fundamentals that needed to be trained, which we did. And then we had some specific machine learning and data science techniques and process mining techniques that were used as well. So these were all the areas that were covered. And we knew when we started that it was not possible to have in one person all these elements. So it was quite important that we had a good match. We were you see the innovation partners, which are the bigger companies that assisted us in defining the program, and then you have below the training partners who each came up with their own business case, with a real business case, which was quite important. We wanted to allow the data scientists to use different tools. So you see here different software suppliers as well, and we used an underlying platform for education called DataCamp. So I really suggest that you take a look at DataCamp. Most of the time, the first or second, the first few chapters are always for free, and it's not really a very expensive platform. But it's very good if you want to master a new language like Python or R, and to understand new techniques. So here are some examples. We did a SAS certification. We had people from banking explaining different areas. We also learned people to do some web scraping, which is completely illegal. And we had people doing some data science, architecture things, show how that worked. So that's one thing about the bootcamp, which we are very proud of. We managed to train 20 people, and all the 20 that were trained got the job before the end of the training. But we did other things as well. Like I mentioned before, it's not only the technical side of the people that you have to train, but you also have to train the customer or the bigger organization where that data scientist will work. So we did some inspiration workshops or training of managers. Here, for example, on the left side, you see that we did a CDO panel, which is a Chief Data Officer panel, explaining what the job of a Chief Data Officer was all about. We also had some startups coming in, and here we have Andy Palmer on the right, which is one of the serial entrepreneurs of Silicon Valley, who explained here on that slide. You see him standing on the table explaining that a startup must, you have to be able to be seen when you are a startup, and the best way to do it is to stand on the table and to make a lot of noise. That was his basic takeaway. And also specific management trainings. Here there is a half-day training done that we asked Python Prediction to prepare for us. You see here Professor Geert Verstraeten explaining what predictive analytics was all about. It's important for a business person, for a manager, to understand if he wants to use the help of a data scientist, he needs to understand what predictive analytics is all about, because that's what you want to do when you are a data scientist, is basically help predict the future or define how things will be evolving. So here, that's one example of a training that you can find here.
I'm very happy that we can start. You're a little bit guinea pigs, because this is a training that was developed specifically for the Brussels data science community, which is something we have planned for a long time, but this is the first real session. We created a restaurant for today, which is called Brasserie Octopus. I'll let you a couple of minutes to pick out the tool that you prefer. There's only one of each, so those who are the quickest, go ahead. And for each phase, I have a little bit more detail. You should have an idea on whether data is available. The data for models are the ingredients for the soup.
Your point about timing was very interesting. It's something that I was not considering before. So.
Validation. Yeah.
Project definition.
Another activities that we have done is we brought 80 people together on a hackathon. We did 3 hackathons last year. We did one hackathon on manufacturing data from Procter & Gamble. We did another on text mining with the bank, and we did a third one, which is a pure data for good activity, where we worked with 10 teams to predict the next dengue outbreak. I don't know if you know what dengue is. Dengue is, as you will hear in a minute, he will have a small presentation of what dengue is all about. It's one of the major mosquito-borne diseases, most dangerous mosquito-borne diseases, And what was important for us is to understand how that disease spread and how we could predict it.
Dengue, the fastest growing mosquito-borne disease in the world. Half of the world's population is currently at risk. Outbreaks occur primarily in the tropics, but are already present in the United States and are beginning to infect Europe. Companies and researchers have been working on stopping dengue for decades, but with new technologies and available resources, we can join forces with those already fighting in the battle against dengue. Each researcher has been working in their own environment with their own data. We want to combine all of this scattered information into one open data environment. We'll map all known dengue cases on a timeline showing weather, medical, mosquito, social media, and demographic data all in one place. Then, new breakthroughs in algorithms and deep learning will lead us to new insights into why, when, and where dengue breaks out. Data scientists around the world will be able to access this open data environment for future research to identify additional meaningful indicators and find correlations and warning signs that allow better predictions of future outbreaks. With your help, we can make big data a new weapon in the arsenal for the fight against dengue. Share your data and read more at denguehack.org.
The results of the hackathon were astonishing. 10 teams came up with a prediction. 10 teams used different data sources in order to predict the next dengue outbreaks, so that was quite important. And in this little movie here, you can see the teams working, and you can see how they managed to do some predictions of dengue.
The outcome of this dengue hackathon can really help us in designing our clinical trial, because based on the data that will be generated in this hackathon, we hope to have a better understanding when outbreaks occur, and based on this information we can really specifically go to hyperendemic regions of dengue to design our clinical trials.
This is definitely a first for our team. It's not a typical initiative that we organize within the organization, but I just walked around the different teams, and you can feel the energy. People really want to help and address the issue, and I think it's very encouraging to see so many people from a very diverse talent and expertise that want to leverage their expertise, but also their spare time, because this is going over the weekend. That want to use their spare time to help solve the issue, the public health issue of dengue.
From here, through our data model, maybe we can have some insight on the dengue problem.
What we, from a Janssen pharmaceutical perspective, can learn from this as well is that there is a lot of knowledge around, there is a lot of potential in very junior resources as well, and a genuine interest to do this kind of work.
I wanted to be a doctor, and finally I can help people thanks to big data.
It's been 36 hours of only 2 hours of sleep, and we still feel very energetic and motivated because we want to see the spread of dengue reducing as much as possible.
We really believe that this dengue hackathon was the first prototype in which we offered a new platform to come up with novel solutions and novel ideas, in this case specifically for dengue. However, there is really great potential to come up with other solutions for other diseases or disease areas within our company.
And today we saw a solution where through monitoring Twitter feeds, we can see real life what people are saying about a particular disease. And I think that, for example, is a great solution, a great potential solution to match what we are trying to do as a group, as a department, in raising awareness on a particular disease, and then in the same time monitoring either the effect or the knowledge that people already have at a certain point about the disease.
It's definitely scalable. We can do this again. If we did it once, we can do it again. Maybe we can even do it in another country. Maybe we can make it bigger. There's definitely a way to go further with this.
Another activity next to the trainings that we are organizing, the bootcamp that we are organizing, you need to have kind of an annual meeting of everybody. People like to be invited to speak, and you see here our DI Summit activity. And the announcement of the DI Summit is basically about, it's a data innovation summit. There are 500 people present. We have a lot of inspiring speakers, more than 40. A lot of companies presenting their activities and services. And it's an event for data startups, for government, and for education. Talking about an all-inclusive community, it's quite important that you include also some youngsters. And one activity that we added to our portfolio was to do a kids camp on creative computing, where we wanted the kids to learn how to do some coding. There is a little a movie about that, talking about the kids camp. It's quite nice because it allows people to bring their kids, and so their kids understand what their parents are doing or why they are spending so many evenings working on the community. So take a look at this presentation here. We didn't want it to have it to be an only programmer, very nerdy activity. We also included in this activity in the afternoon, some physical exercises and circus techniques, so the kids could have both a nerdy morning and a physical afternoon doing some circus tricks.
Dit is een robot die je kan programmeren om zo bijvoorbeeld te laten rijden. Zo'n robot, dat is het begin, maar je kan uiteindelijk nog zo van die grote websites en games en zo maken.
This is designed to roll around and avoid obstacles. You see this here? This is an infrared sensor. I would program it to pick up readings of objects, detect the proximity, and thus steer away from the object. And if it comes across another obstacle, to avoid that one too.
C'est des origamis grenouilles reliés au Makey par des fils. En fait, quand je la baisse, ces deux fils se touchent et ça crée un contact. L'activité que j'ai préférée, c'était le scratch et le codage.
So here we are, nearly at the end of our presentation. We are still faced with a few interesting challenges. My most interesting challenge for the moment is getting ready for a new building space that we will receive as of next month. It's a building space that is 4 times the size of what we have today. It's 2,000 square meters. And interesting there is that we are going to group both the virtual reality communities as the IoT community and the data and artificial intelligence community in one place, and to have even a better working relationship with those different technologies. We believe that these technologies are important for our city of Brussels. We will focus on different industries like the fintech industries to come up with solutions that include the different technologies. We will also have some possibilities for schools to come and to allow their students and their youngsters to be inspired. We want the youngsters of 17, 18-year-old to come into our environment and to leave the environment being inspired, knowing that they will go into robotics or they will go into artificial intelligence or so on. So that really an experience, an area like a digital flagship of Brussels that we are setting up, where these youngsters can find their passion and understand what they will be doing later. And then another challenge that we are doing is that this year summit was a success. It's the third time we've done it. We now want to move that summit on a more European level, and we are going to have like a Euro contest, a bit like the Euro Song contest, and allow different universities to participate and different projects to come up. And the main focus will be about artificial intelligence and to understand how artificial intelligence can be used in business, and also to allow people to see how good we are with artificial intelligence and with all these techniques in Europe, because we are very good at, we have a lot of excellent academicians who can work on that, and a lot of, so there's no need to go to Silicon Valley basically to find the right people to work on an artificial intelligence project. Here we are. So the takeaways for the audience, well, basically, remember that if you are building a community of practice, that you really have to have a committed community manager. It's quite important. It's also important to know that if you want to learn something, it's nicer when you do it in group. It's quite open. And your group needs to be open, because you learn much more when there are people from different areas into your group, people of the entire ecosystem basically. I will also advise you to take a close look at meetup.com and to join or create your own meetup to share the knowledge you already have and to acquire additional knowledge. There are a lot of MOOCs, and you have to know that learning and sharing is possible today and does not cost a lot. And when you do MOOC, which are these massive open courses, try to do it in group. That's what we did in Brussels. We grouped 10, 15 people, and they start these online courses together. And it was much easier for them to be able to follow and stay motivated for like the 70 hours or 80 hours the MOOC was taking. Yeah. If you are doing a project, try to do it for good, for a better purpose, a good purpose, and know that when you are doing projects like that and when you volunteer for a project like that, it's a lot of fun, and it's a unique experience that I really advise you to do. So here we are at the end of my presentation. I'm now open for questions, and I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you are all going to start or join an existing community of practice. Thank you very much.